Attention to orders. Local veterans that have served and passed. Patrick Dean Mannon, U.S. Army. Other veterans around the state and nation. Lieutenant General Harold Hal Moore, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Donald Roberts, U.S. Navy, Korea. Thomas Jester, U.S. Army, Korea. Martin Horn, U.S. Army, Iraq. Frederick Mackel, M.D., U.S. Army, Panama. Joseph Cheney, U.S. Marines. Ronald Squires, U.S. Navy. Samuel Armstrong, U.S. Marines, Korea. Robert Light, U.S. Navy. Thomas Johnson, U.S. Air Force. Jonathan Laporte, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Ralph Rodas, U.S. Air Force. Simon Tennant, U.S. Army, World War II. Walter Bria, U.S. Army. Donald Schweitzer, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Bruce Bostidge, U.S. Army, Vietnam. William Beck, U.S. Air Force, Vietnam. Bruce Eaton, U.S. Army Air Corps, World War II. Harold Robbins, U.S. Navy, World War II. Lyle Foster, U.S. Air Force. Harold Frank, U.S. Army, Korea. Lewis Perry, U.S. Army. Arthur Kreitzer, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Christopher Debbert, U.S. Army. Stephen Lee, U.S. Navy. Gregory Sands, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Donald Nyman, U.S. Army, World War II. Larry Ross, U.S. Army. Thomas Mallory, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Charles Stetzer, U.S. Army, World War II, POW. Harold Connolly, U.S. Air Force, Korea. Marcus Barlow, U.S. Navy, World War II. Robert Gretz, U.S. Air Force. Johnny Carvin, U.S. Marines, Vietnam. Jack Coursey, U.S. Air Force. Howard Parson, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Amelia Payne, U.S. Army, Korea. Norman Dennis, U.S. Army, World War II. Ella Shelton, U.S. Army, Korea. Ronnie Wasson, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Jonathan Anderson, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Henry Hunter, U.S. Navy, Korea. Arthur Myers, U.S. Army, Korea. Frank Henry, U.S. Navy, World War II. Michael Kuro, U.S. Army, World War II. Elsie Maroney, U.S. Navy. Richard Soprano, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Ralph Barber, U.S. Air Force, Vietnam. Arthur Stewart, U.S. Army, Korea. Raymond Manley, U.S. Army, Korea. Joseph Kelly, U.S. Navy, World War II. Paul LeBlanc, U.S. Navy, Korea. Robert McCarthy, U.S. Army, Korea. Harold Lord, U.S. Army Air Corps, World War II. Frederick Turpin, U.S. Army. Elmer Gray, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Floyd Walla, U.S. Army, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Lawrence Lepper, U.S. Army, U.S. Coast Guard, World War II. Willie Thompson, U.S. Navy. Leslie Wilson, U.S. Army, World War II. John Kowalski, Jr., U.S. Navy, Korea. Police and fire killed in the line of duty. Sergeant Joe Cox, Allen County Sheriff's Department, Indiana. Rosie the Riveters, Dorothy Appleton, Laura Bishop, June Brubaker, Helen Carrier, Nina Dunbar, Avis Fislin, Ethel Higley, Dorothy Hilton, Stella Lindahl, Adeline Miller, Naomi Parsley, Virginia Postello, Army Simpson, Millicent Smith, Rita Smith, and Dorothy Stevens. And MIA recently recovered remains of Navy Fire Controlman 3rd Class Robert Pribble, killed in action December 7, 1941 in the USS Oklahoma, recovered and laid to rest in April of 2015. Sir, all souls present and accounted for.
Take your position, sir.
Order, pull, dismiss.